Welcome to the chart-topping, world-class, #1 podcast, King's Cultural, where we explore culture from a biblical perspective. My name's Ed, and here we talk about the Bible and how it can shape your everyday life. Today's guest was given a devastating diagnosis nearly 3 years ago of grade 4 astrocytoma, an aggressive brain cancer. If you're knowledgeable on cancer and good at math, you'll know she's past her expiration date by nearly a year now. We'll be hearing about our guest's faith, fears, struggles, and triumph over the past few years. She'll be sharing her story of hope, putting faith into action, and a reminder that no diagnosis is greater than our God. So get ready. This conversation is going to challenge, encourage, and remind us that our God is still a miracle worker in the miracle working business. You know her, you love her, I love her even more. Please give a warm King's Cultural welcome to Kimberly Pelling.
Hi, Ed.
Air horns.
Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for coming. I know it was a long drive to get down
here.
I
know.
Thank you.
I'm very honored.
Here. Well, Kimberly.
Yes, Ed.
I want to talk about your story. What are you laughing at?
You.
Can you explain a little bit about what your life was like before your diagnosis? What was your faith like? What was your family life like?
It was pretty good. I wasn't as close to God as I am now, for sure. I had my own business. I had it was called Kimberly Lyrics Music Lessons. I had been developing it. It was almost 10 years that I had it. And we had, almost 200 students. I had teachers working for me. I was very, very proud of it. I felt like girl boss kind of thing. And I had like a cute pink apartment, and I had a crazy beagle with anxiety issues. And I felt really proud of like my accomplishments, but I was pretty worldly. I professed Christianity. I prayed before meals, and if I did something sinful or bad, I felt a little bit guilty about it, but I had nowhere near the faith that I do now. I read the Bible probably more than because I had more time than I do now, but I read the Bible a lot. I misinterpreted it a lot. I never went too deep. I was very much a do what your heart tells you to do Sunday Christian.
Yeah.
So I met you, and we got married in 2020. And
that's right.
We did. And I always wanted a big wedding, but we had a COVID wedding, so we had to have a backyard wedding. But only the people who loved us the most were there. And we had back-to-back boys, and which was another miracle, because doctors had told me my whole life that I shouldn't expect to be able to get pregnant without some kind of like doctor assistance. So to have 2 chunky, healthy boys was a big miracle. And things were pretty good up until 2022 when stuff started to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So did you have any like warning signs of a brain tumor, or was it just kind of completely out of nowhere?
It's hard to remember. I feel like I have a lot of blank spots from back then. Like I don't remember a lot of things. And thankfully I still had a big Instagram following, so I documented a lot of things, and those memories pop up in my Google Photos sometimes.
Yeah.
So that helps me remember. But no, not the only thing was the things that happened at night, which I thought were nightmares at first.
Yeah. So what happened at night?
So what I remember is you shaking me awake, and I could see your face, and you were like terrified, and I didn't know what had happened. I hadn't been having any dreams or anything, but I do remember like everything was black. I heard you, and then everything, like the black dissipated, and I was so out of it, and I had no idea like what was going on. And that first night that it happened, I don't remember how many times it happened, but that first night I was like, I wonder what had happened. Like I was just so out of it. It wasn't until one of the times where it happened when you woke me up, and I instantly felt this intense pain in my mouth. It was so bad. I ran to the bathroom, and all I could do was just go, ow, 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 because I was still so out of it. Turns out I'd bitten a chunk of my tongue off.
Oh.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And so I mentioned it to my mom, because like I had no idea what was happening to me. And she mentioned that she used to have really bad nightmares. And so she convinced me that I was having nightmares. It wasn't until I talked to my therapist.
Terrifying nightmare.
Yeah. Wasn't until I talked to my therapist a few days later when she said that sounds like seizures. And she told us to go to our family doctor, which you remember we went. And he said that sounds like seizures and to go to the emergency room. And we went to the emergency room and they did an MRI. And that's where they found a giant tumor in the front of my head.
Yeah, how big was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I remember.
What was it?
It was 3 centimeters.
Okay, yeah,
3
I don't remember
centimeters,
at
like
all.
an inch and a half.
Yeah, I don't remember at
It's a
all.
big tumor in there.
Yeah, I was
So-
right in the front.
And then those night terrors, this is a hard-hitting question.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here first, folks. Do you regret punching me during one of your night terrors? During one of your seizures?
Did I punch you?
You walloped me.
No, I didn't.
I didn't shake you awake. I was pinning you down.
No, wait, no.
Because you hit me real hard.
Why didn't you ever tell me this?
I did.
Oh, I don't remember anything.
No, because you said that your mom had hit her husband on their honeymoon once.
I think I
She had a
remember
night
that now.
terror. And so I go, okay. So I just started pinning you down after that.
That's okay. That's why my mom said it was
I
a
was
nightmare
afraid.
because I punched you and she had punched Ken. Yeah, I get it.
I lived in fear. So, okay. What was your reaction when they told you that you have grade 4 astrocytoma?
Part of me was like I knew it. Like when they said, we're pretty sure it's cancer. They didn't say it was astrocytoma yet. They just said they found a tumor and that they were pretty sure it was cancer. And part of me was like, okay. But then the other part of me just felt God saying, I'm going to take care of it. It's going to be okay. So I wasn't scared. Like when they told me that, I was like, God's going to take care of it. Like cancer happens and this sucks. But I assumed that we were just going to do the craniotomy and that I was going to be okay. I had no idea what was going to happen. But I will say one of the first things I felt was peace that God was going to handle it.
How'd you feel after that craniotomy?
Oh, sore. And, definitely out of it. You reminded me of some things that happened that I do not remember. My memory was definitely torched after that. But hopeful because my surgeon was amazing. And he told me, he was like, don't do chemo and radiation. There's nothing in there right now. And like my scans were clear and I felt so optimistic after that.
Yeah. So what were doctors, because again, this is aggressive cancer,
Mm-hmm.
for anyone that doesn't know at home,
Mm-hmm.
what were doctors telling you that your chances were of survival? Like prognoses, you know?
Well, my surgeon told me that he gave me all good things. I loved that guy. But the oncologists, they were like, this is the kind of cancer that always comes back. It always grows back. Their cells are always there and we can't see them on the MRI, but they're going to come back. And most people live a few years. Some people live up to 10 years. Survival rate is 5 to 7%. Mm-hmm.
That's not a big survival rate.
No, it is not.
And that's survival past 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
No. That's 10 years. Survival past 10 years is 1%.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nothing.
I know a few people though that are on 20 years. So I think it's not always being reported.
No, they probably stopped keeping track of them.
Yeah. They're like, you should be dead.
They go, okay, well, we're just going to sweep you under the rug here.
Bye.
Big cancer is going to sweep you under the rug. So, because people out there, they probably don't know someone. They might know, but they don't, probably everyone doesn't know someone who's had a craniotomy. Like you said you were sore afterwards, but I remember, what in your experience, what was the recovery process like after the craniotomy? Did it take you weeks to walk again or did you need to relearn how to do anything?
No. I felt like I walked pretty quick. Like, I know you told me the first day I didn't. I think I went to the bathroom myself.
Yeah.
But like
The nurses were yelling at you.
Yeah, I was very eager. Like I had a baby at home. I was like, I have a 1-year-old and a 4-month-old at home. I need to get home. So like I did not have any issue walking. I was definitely sore, but like I ate on my own. I could drink. Like I didn't lose any skills. I lost some memory, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So at some point, a few months after you had the craniotomy,
Mm-hmm.
the oncologist started recommending that you do chemotherapy and radiation, and you ended up doing that.
Yeah.
And 8 months later, after you started that, the cancer came back.
Mm-hmm.
What was going through your mind? What was that like for you?
Well, first of all, I was very frustrated because I felt scared the whole time. They had me on a year of chemo was the regimen, a year.
Yeah.
And 5 weeks of radiation. And I kept thinking like to myself, what are we zapping? What are we poisoning? Like, there's nothing there. Why are we doing this? And I kept being really, really scared, but I kept second guessing myself. I know it came to you a million times. Like, should we stop? Should we stop? And I never felt peace about it. But I never heard God tell me not to do it. So I just kept going forward. And 8 months into the chemo is when they told me there was it wasn't this in the same place. It was a new inoperable tumor.
Yeah.
And it was doubling like every single month. So I remember when she told me that, because the doctor that I had, she had given me hope. She was very blunt, very straightforward. She was like head of neurology. So she was in a high position. So
Yeah, head of neuro-oncology.
Head of neuro-oncology for.
Yeah, we're gonna bleep that out. We're not gonna throw them under the bus.
Yeah, no. Yeah, let's bleep that out. But I trusted her. She was in a very high position, and she'd been doing this for a really long time, and she was very much a straight shooter. And she had told me, she was like, I think we could, if anybody's gonna survive a long time, it's gonna be you. She had told me that, so I was like, I felt optimistic. And then that day when I came in and she told me it took forever. I remember sitting in there like, why is it taking so long? And she came in with like an entourage and sat down and told me that what they found, and put her hand on my knee and said, there's nothing else we can do. I can give you a stronger chemo. All that's going to do is slow it down. There's nothing else we can do. And I asked her, I said, how long do I have? And she said, probably a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she said, I'm so sorry. And that was it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that day. That was a bad day.
I think my face went numb. I couldn't really feel anything. And I was probably shaking a little bit. And I instantly started crying. And I remember thinking like nothing. Like there's no thoughts at that point. I was like, what am I going to do? And I asked, can I go? Because I just wanted to get out of there, because she was not comforting. And I just wanted to talk to my mom. Like, you were on the phone with me. So like you got the news, you were crying. I was crying. Like it was a lot. And then when I got outside and I called my mom, I was
tearing. I wasn't crying. I was like misting.
You don't cry. When I got outside and called my mom, she just kept saying, this isn't real. This isn't real. And it was intense. And I remember we called, it was as intense as when we called Mayo to get like a second opinion, and they told us that I was going to die as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They told us over, cause we couldn't travel there, over a video chat that I was going to die. And yeah, I felt dread and nothing at the same time.
That was a bad day. I remember taking the train home
Mm-hmm.
from work. I left early and I took the train home, and
Mm-hmm.
just that whole ride, I couldn't move. I was shaking. So you said that they offered you a different type of chemotherapy, and then they offered you another treatment as well. What was that?
I don't remember.
The Optune?
Oh yeah. They wanted me to, I was already bald at this point, but they wanted me to fully shave my head and wear this sci-fi looking helmet all the time. And I don't want to disparage it, because I know people that are surviving on Optune and it's doing really good things for them. As soon as I saw it, I just felt like, no.
Yeah.
I felt like, no, if I'm going to live, I'm not going to carry a giant battery pack around. I've got 2 toddlers. They're going to rip it off my head. Like, there's got to be another way for me.
Yeah. So did you go with any treatment?
I did not.
You did not.
No.
Interesting.
We went to Moffitt originally to die. Like we had given up for a little bit. Like
What's Moffitt?
Moffitt is a cancer center in Florida.
Okay. So you went down to Florida to start going to Moffitt.
Yes, because my mom lives in Florida and she wanted to be near me, because we really thought that I was going to die for a few days. It wasn't very long that we had this mindset, but we wanted to get another opinion, and we met a wonderful doctor. Still, can't say enough good things about Dr. Oh my goodness.
We're going to bleep his name too.
We're going to bleep. Sorry, I'll stop saying names. Just the best. He totally respected that I wanted to, because I told him, I said, I'm not doing any more treatment. He confirmed what the other doctor did, but he also said he saw more than a year. He saw maybe 3 or 5. He was trying to be hopeful for me, and I appreciated that a lot. But he also respected, I said, if this is going to take me out anyway, I'm not doing anything else. I want to give God a chance. I want to change my life. I want to see if the holistic things, because I have ADHD, so I hyperfixate on like research. And the whole time I was on chemo, I'd been researching and compiling so much research about natural cures that I'd seen work on people. I read a book by James McCraw, who has glioblastoma and has had it since 2014 and is killing it. So I read his book. I read testimonies by because there's a lot of testimonies from people that have beaten cancer, but not brain cancer. Brain cancer is totally different. There's a blood-brain barrier, So like I read testimonies from people. And that's why when I'm on TikTok and people are like, have you tried bitter apricot seeds? Have you tried black seeds? Yes, I've tried it all. Like, and I still do.
That's for newbies. Apricot seeds are for the new guys.
I actually used to take those just for health. But anyway, like I read testimonies from people with brain cancer, and I dug into everything I could. So when this happened, after the initial shock, I started talking to God again, and I felt God tell me like, it's time. Pull the trigger, do all the stuff that you wanted to do. And I think I talked to you and Mom about it, like, because we went to Dr. Grogan, or we went to Moffitt, and I felt positive about the results, and he offered us a treatment of radiation, which we considered. I was considering it, but then just talking to you and my parents and looking at all the information I had and then talking to God, I felt like it's time to try this out. And
try what out?
The holistic journey, praying, obviously, trusting in God, and then doing the things that I had found in my research that I feel like God led me to, because I'm not always great at finding the information I need. And a lot of this stuff I felt like fell into my lap when I was doing research.
Yeah. What kind of pushback have you gotten from people who think, because you didn't do treatment? You did the first round of treatment. You saw it didn't work. You realized that it would only make you realized that if you did any more treatment, it would just kind of make you sick and die a little later.
Yeah.
Is how I describe it.
Yeah.
But like you get 2 months, but then you spend 6 months sick.
Yeah. Wasn't worth it to me.
What kind of pushback did you get from people who thought not getting treatment was the wrong thing to do?
Thankfully, not a lot. People talk nice to you when you have cancer. Like, I did not get a lot of pushback.
No.
Dr. even was, the doctor at Moffitt was even, he said, this is not the path I would take, but I'm going to respect your decision. He helped us along the way. He read our scans for us, even though I wasn't doing what he recommended. He still, and unfortunately, like while we were there, the scans still kept doubling. He never got to see when they started to shrink. I did message him to let him know, like, it's working, and like to give him results so that he could see that it's, it worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the only pushback I had was the Dr. Moffitt, who respectfully said, this is not the path I would take, but I'm going to respect your decision. Other than that, people are nice when they think you're going to die.
Yeah.
So that's
all right.
Work.
So you decide not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You decide to you had a change of heart.
Mm-hmm. And
you decided, what was the moment that you decided, I don't want to give up and die. I want to live?
I wish I could recall. I try to think about it. Because I know I think it took some time. I think it was a moment that developed. It wasn't a moment. It was like days, because there was the initial, I'm going to die, and a lot of crying and a lot of planning. And I started emails for our kids so that I could start emailing them. So when they got older, they'd have emails from mommy. And I went through all like the things you do when you think you're going to die. And it took a while. Not a while, but like it wasn't a moment. It took some time, and gradually I started to feel hopeful, and I started to feel, especially because I wasn't having symptoms. They kept telling me to expect certain things, and it wasn't happening. So,
but the tumors were still growing.
The tumors were still growing, but nothing else was happening. And as I started doing the holistic treatment, I also started digging into the word, looking for every story I could about healing, writing verses down that pertain to healing, and taping them to my wall.
It was covered.
Yeah, I covered that closet door with verses about healing, and I read the Bible nonstop, and I cried out to God every chance I could. And the more I combined that with the holistic journey, the more I felt sure like positive that it was going to be okay. I felt more hopeful. I felt like this is the way, where I never felt that on radiation and chemo. I never felt like this is the way. I felt terrified.
Yeah.
But this, I was like, this is the way I'm going to make it. I'm going to live. So I don't know if it was a moment as much as a series of moments.
You said it was like a series of moments
Yes.
that kind of led you to your decision on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
What was some of the best advice that you got on your journey and just deciding not to roll over and give up?
Well, Daniel Joseph from Corner Fringe Ministries called. They've been praying for me, and he had a conversation with me that like brought me to tears, because he reminded me of when the Israelites were in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And they had an identity of death. They were sure that they were going to die, that they had kind of given up already. And he wanted to make sure that I had an identity of life.
Yeah.
And that was pretty intense to hear. And that definitely changed the game. I think about that a lot.
That was early on too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was like during early chemo, I think he said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's incredible. Because they just kept rolling over going, oh, we should have died in Egypt. You should have left us there. At least we'd have full bellies and be dead.
Yeah.
Right? But you decided not to do that.
I wanted to live. I wanted to live for my babies. I wanted to live for you. I felt like my life was just starting, but I was definitely also tempted to have an identity of death, because I was very tired from the chemo. I was exhausted. It was still in my system, and I felt sick all the time. And on that, I did kind of want to roll over and be like, I'm just going to give up, because I can just go to sleep and go be with Jesus. But hearing him talk about having an identity of life and focusing on what all the blessings that God had given me, and realizing that God gave them to me to steward, that he didn't give them to me to just like take them away, to mess with me.
Yeah.
He gave them to me to steward because he believed that I could handle it, and because he wanted to sanctify me. That's been the biggest thing, is being here for sanctification, being here so that I can bring a shinier temple into heaven, not just the old raggedy one I had before. And I'm never going to be perfect, but I have more time now to get closer to being like Jesus.
I love it. Did you ever experience like doubt or fear? And how'd you deal with it?
I still do. I still have moments where I'm like, what if the next scan has a new one? It's really hard to stay constantly uplifted, but I used to have it like every day. You remember, constant tears and constant like, what are we going to do about Ray and Bear? And like, you need to do this for them, and you need when I'm gone. I used to talk like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore, but
I haven't heard you talk like that in a long time.
No, because I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But there are days where I worry about like the next scan, or I worry about kicking the can down the road, things like that. And so I started that TikTok where I just sing worship and I tell my story. And I used to sing pop songs on there. I just sing worship now, because I think that is such a big connection for me to God, is me singing worship to him.
Yeah.
And so that helps me a lot. Getting in my word helps me a lot. If I don't get in the word, you can tell, because I'm very bratty that day. It's because I didn't read my Bible. Focusing on blessings instead of focusing on, what I don't have. And focusing on how far I've come is a big help. And I might start taping verses to the wall again, because sometimes I do get nervous right before a scan. Nothing like I used to.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you have, doctors telling you that, they told me I still have to come every 3 months, because they're sure that it's going to come back and that I'm going to die. So it's really hard when you have this proof that God is healing you, but you have this team of medical professionals who are sure that you're going to die, and who are much smarter than you, and who are telling you like, let's keep on this because you're going to die.
We haven't even covered that really yet. When the moment that you realized that they were shrinking, like you were in Florida, my sources tell me that you moved to Illinois, and that first scan, when you got to Illinois, the tumors were shrinking. What was that like? What did the doctors say?
Well, I truly believe that it shrank because, that they shrank because we had the one inoperable and 5 lesions around it that they assumed were also tumors, but I was not letting anybody do a biopsy in me or anything like that. So before the next scan, I kept having this feeling. I kept hearing the word "step out in faith," and we hadn't really done that. We were still living with my parents. It was very neat. Like if I were to pass away, like we were living like I was going to die.
Yeah.
So you and I talked and we decided that we were going to buy a house in Illinois. It was going to be a miracle if we were going to be able to get a house.
Yeah.
And it happened. We found one that fit our needs, and the lady who handled our loan like went to bat for us, and we got approved. And so we moved into this house, and you started working again, and we immediately picked up like we were going to continue living. And that's right around when the next scan, it was a couple months after that, that they shrank. And it was like, I have a TikTok of it on my main TikTok, and it still makes me cry to go watch it because it had just been growing and growing. And I knew in the back of my mind, I knew that it was going to stop or it was going to shrink. God was doing something. I knew that, but I had no proof yet. And so when I got the report, because we get it on an app. So like, I didn't even get a call from a doctor. I just got the report, and I was like shaking, terrified to open it. And when I saw smaller, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I went in and saw the pictures, and I posted those on TikTok too. I didn't know what to think. And I remember the doctor, I think it was an assistant physician, AP. She didn't seem happy about it. We were so excited. Like I was still teary. I was like in there, like, this is amazing. I think you asked her, like, does this happen? Is this normal?
Yeah.
And she said, it's the goal. And we were like, no, does it happen? Like, we know it's the goal. Does this happen? And she was like, it's what you want. I was like,
I remember her saying, I don't work with people who don't do treatment.
yeah.
That's what she said to us. And I'm like, but does it ever happen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She goes, I would have to know what kind of treatment you're on. And I said, none. I'm not on treatment. Like,
yeah,
this is all Jesus.
I'm praying. Yeah.
Yeah. And she seemed annoyed about it. She did not seem happy about it. And after that, we had two more doctors. And the one was happier. Like they just keep giving me APs now because they know I'm not going to do treatment. So I don't have an oncologist right now. I just see APs. And they keep like cycling them because we did have an oncologist when we got here, and unfortunately he transferred, which is fine because I don't feel like I need one. I feel like God is handling this. God's my oncologist right now.
Yeah. All these doctors, they seem like almost annoyed. Some of them have been happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I saw it shrinking and you weren't doing the traditional like standard of care,
yeah,
I'd be like, hey, here's $1 million. Come down here and let me talk to you. Let me find out what you're doing.
Yeah.
I want to know. Maybe I can recommend this to my patients because they're all dying.
Well, my cousin Morgan is a nurse, and she told me, she said the last time I saw her, she goes, you should be studied. Like people should be studying you because you are a walking miracle.
100%.
She's in the medical field. She's the only one in the medical field who said that to me so far.
They just don't care. They're so set in their ways. It's like a man is wise in his own eyes, but before the Lord, what do they know?
Yep.
They're just so set. Before we go any further, we're going to do a little segment.
Okay.
It's called The Saints or the Ain'ts. It's where we read posts from Reddit.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Reddit.
Oh,
it's a website. It's a forum, and they have a section called "Am I the Butt?" And so it's people posting stories, and they say, "Am I the butthole?" Right?
And it's called that.
But I'm not going to call it that. We're going to title this "The Saints or the Ain'ts." Right?
Okay.
So we're going to use a biblical standard.
Okay.
Right? We're going to use God's law, and we're going to examine: is this person a saint, or are they an ain't?
Okay.
All right? I'm going to read it for you here.
Okay.
So me and my boyfriend have been together for almost 2 years and live together. Well, that's already a little... His mother is very involved in his life. Some might say overbearing, but I try and be respectful. She's nice, but has this way of like pushing boundaries while acting like she means well. So to the issue. I have a no shoes in the house rule. My BF is cool with it. All my friends do it, no problem. But his mom refuses to do it. She claims it's rude to ask guests to take their shoes off, and it makes her feel disrespected. I've even tried explaining that it's just a cleanliness thing that she won't budge. She won't budge on it. Last weekend, she came over and, surprise, surprise, walked in with her shoes on. I very politely, I swear it was polite, said, "Oh, can you take them off, please?" She kind of huffs and is like, "Oh, you're really going to make me do this?" And I just stood there waiting. She sighs dramatically, takes them off, and spends the whole visit sulking. Then later, I get a text from my BF's dad saying I made her cry and she feels like I'm trying to assert my dominance over her in her son's home. Our home, actually. My boyfriend is on my side, but now his parents are acting like I've disrespected the Queen of England. Am I a saint or am I an ain't for standing on my ground on a very normal rule?
Oh, okay. Well, you're living in sin, so you're an ain't.
You're an ain't already, son. What are you doing?
But let's reframe.
Get a ring on that finger. Don't give marriage benefits to the boyfriend, okay? Gosh dang.
But let's reframe it that they're married. If they were married, I would say saint, because in some countries that's very important that you don't wear shoes in the house. And she's right, it is not hygienic. I do it because I have bad ankles, but I would rather not.
I don't ever wear shoes in my house. I don't know. If someone wants to wear their shoes in my house, I'll be like, fine, whatever. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. But is it if you ask, maybe it seems a little disrespectful. Maybe she could provide like house shoes for her mom. Or for guests.
I think, yeah, if this is a very important rule to you, then yeah, maybe have a few pairs of slippers from Walmart or something to give to people.
Or like those booties that like service people wear on their shoes that go over their boots. Like the blue things with they look like hairnets.
Or like hospital socks.
Yes. Give them hospital socks. Maybe her mom's like, his mom's like, she's got bunions or something. Like she got smelly feet. She don't want to take off her shoes.
I don't think she's an ain't for this. I think she could be a saint for this if she, offers something for them to wear. But even then, it's your house. If it's your home, mother-in-law doesn't have to come.
People should respect your home.
Yeah.
People should respect your home.
Yeah. Mother-in-law doesn't have to come over.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But, what are you going to do?
If you want to come over all the time, you got to take off your shoes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, you respect the house rules.
Yep.
We're going to say, aside from living in sin and fornication, because they're sharing a room.
Maybe not.
Yeah, they can say that, but they share in a room, okay?
Maybe
These
not.
people are bad people at the core. Horrible people. Just keep your guard up for them.
Oh, my goodness.
I think she's a saint on this issue, and she should provide some house shoes.
Yeah.
Maybe if she knows it's going to happen. Every morning I make bacon and you steal a piece of my bacon.
I sure do.
I learned today. I made extra bacon. My wife didn't steal my bacon.
And I appreciated it.
Provide house shoes for your mother-in-law.
And put a ring on that man's finger.
More importantly, propose to him right
Propose
now.
to him.
If he doesn't propose to you, you got to do it to him.
Yep.
Because in this situation, you're a saint. Overall,
you're an ain't.
She's an ain't.
Make an honest man out of your boyfriend.
Make an honest man out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Shotgun wedding. He's going to get pregnant. All right. Back to the regularly scheduled program. Couple more questions here for you if you got time.
Yeah.
Right? I know you got to run.
I got to commute, but.
Yeah, got to commute.
Yeah.
All the way across the hall. If you could go back and tell yourself something on the day of your diagnosis, what do you think you would say?
Don't do radiation and chemo.
No,
I'm still bald from it. Like I have to wear toppers and wigs, and it's probably why I know we wouldn't be here if I hadn't have done that. So like it's bittersweet, but it's something that it is kind of a regret in my life because I did, I liked my hair. It was nice.
It did lead us to where we're at, though.
It did lead us to where we were at. I don't think I would have ever gotten to the point where I was so fed up that I finally gave it up to God.
Yeah, because you're a completely different person from who you were 3 years ago.
It's true.
I don't know if we had just found the magic cure, whatever's working, if you would have been who you are now.
I needed some struggle.
And I love who you are now.
You loved me then too.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But I love you more every day. So you tell yourself don't do radiation. What advice would you give others who are facing just serious health diagnoses? You know, cancer, AIDS, stub their toe. What are you going to tell people that are facing serious health issues? What advice would you give them? How would you encourage them?
I try to be really careful with that because I found what works for me and what I believe God wants me to do. That doesn't mean that God wants everybody who's facing cancer to do what I'm doing. There are things that I do feel like would be good for everybody, but I don't want to ever, well, I do a low carb diet now and I really feel like that's beneficial in so many ways for everybody. I do think that black seed oil is really good for cancer, for health, for everything. Bitter apricot seeds are really good. And I take a clove of garlic daily. It's the worst part of my day, but I truly believe that it is helping to fight the cancer. It's also apparently really good for cholesterol because your mother started doing it and her cholesterol went down. So there are things that I think are beneficial to everybody. Do I think they're going to cure everyone's cancer? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I know what God wanted me to do. So whenever people ask, like I try to steer them back to that, especially on my TikTok when people are like, my sister just got diagnosed with this. Tell me what I should tell her to do. I'm like, I don't want to be in that position because I'm not a doctor. I've done a lot of research because like I said, I have ADHD and I hyperfixate on things. But I also felt God come behind those plans because I researched and I found a lot of other things too that I started doing that I felt in my gut and in my soul that no, we can let those things go. Like I've narrowed it down to the things that I know are working for me and that I know that God blessed through, rigorous trial and error and talking to God.
Yeah.
So I can't give anybody like a formula, but what I can say is that if you don't know Jesus and you're facing something that's like this, you're going to have a bad time because I knew when I got diagnosed with this and when they told me, like it was shortly after they told me that I was going to die, I started to feel like, okay, so if I do, I get to go home and I'm still going to praise God. I'm going to praise God whether I die tomorrow or whether I die 50 years from now because He's good. He's already done so much. He's already made sure that I can get to heaven and be with Him forever. This life is a blip. So I'm thankful for the life that I have, and I'm thankful and I'm hopeful that I can stay here another 50, 60, 100 years, and I want to see my babies grow up. But if I don't, if something happens, I will go to my grave praising the Lord. His name will forever be on my lips. I would give everyone that advice that you need to know Jesus. You need to have that faith in Christ. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad time with everything, not just your health, but everything, because He is the creator. He loves you so much. He's got a plan for you, and He can communicate that with you if you surrender to Him. If you don't, He has no way to talk to you because He's a gentleman. He's not going to come busting through your door like the Kool-Aid man, So that's the advice I would give. Trust in the Lord.
I liked that last answer you gave.
Yeah.
I like that answer that you gave.
Yeah.
To go. That was good. So we're gonna end this interview. Where can people find you and keep up with what's going on in your life?
At your house and on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, Kimberly.Pelling. On TikTok, it's also at Kimber Cool Mom. That's where I do the main status updates. I sing on there. I post the updates on, what's going on with cancer and my life and yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for being here, Kimberly.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. You guys, everyone at home, we appreciate you watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, evening, afternoon, morning, birthday, anniversary, Hanukkah celebration. Whenever you're listening to this, thank you. Please go watch the main channel videos. It means a lot. Please go and like the shorts. Leave some comments. What stood out to you in here? Do you got any questions for Kimberly? I'll bring her back on as a guest any day of the week because she literally lives in my house. It's incredible. Thank you so much. And please subscribe if you're interested in learning more about culture from a biblical perspective.
Subscribe.